Hello, everybody. My name is Jill Renee Feeler, and I'm here with Janet Eichhorst. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Jill.
How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. What about you?
Good. We have a specific topic today.
Yeah. Yeah, Jill and I talked about this, and this is a change, right? And I love this really, that I feel like we can, and both Jill and I do, we can deliver more value by coming up with a topic ahead of time. Because I don't know if you guys enjoy us batting back and forth for a topic, but we're going to try something new.
I know I just want to chime in here. I know that some of you actually do love the impromptu-ness of it, more like it is a friends, like a good friends conversation. You don't like plan it out what you're going to say to a friend at, if you're getting together for lunch or coffee or cocktails or something. And Janet and I both love the spontaneity. And we're recognizing that for some of the really important um, topics that we're covering, if it isn't as specific and intentional, it actually gets missed in the algorithm. So, people that would really, really benefit from our unique conversation and the unique perspectives we have, it's going right by them because some other content creator was super dialed in about exactly that topic and only talking about that topic, and a title and a little frame on the video that was specific and all those things. So we Janet and I both agreed that let's give this a try. We're curious if we have a very specific intentional focus that we have correctly labeled in the title and on a title page and all of those things, that we may actually be able to reach more people with the unique and empowering, self-loving, no bullshit perspectives that we're here to offer.
Mhm. Amen.
So the topic today is, for number 40, the
Uh,
fall of, let's say it together, Janet. One, two, three. The
the
fall of spiritual
spiritual
leaders.
leaders.
So the fall
Yay!
of spiritual leaders. What do we mean by that? Um, so I'll just read some notes that we have here because I think they do capture it well. There's an active global conversation about spiritual authority, guru scandals, and people reclaiming their sovereignty. This is raw, this is controversial, and we hope that this is very easily relatable and is something that you want to share with friends, either in your kind of wellness communities and so forth, because we're not here to trash on other spiritual teachers and spiritual leaders that have had downfalls. We want to empower the audiences and the community members and spiritual practitioners to be more steady in their light, no matter what's going on with their spiritual teacher. I'm anti-guru. I've talked about that before because I'm fine if you put someone on a pedestal. I just want you to be on an equal pedestal, even if you don't know why you deserve to be on a pedestal. That equal footing gives you more grace and actually gives the other person more grace too, because we are all fallible in this reality, no matter what spiritual talents, gifts, and abilities you may have.
Mhm. This topic is so relevant. And how many of you have been listening to somebody and then you just kind of go, huh, right? Like something in the whole dynamic isn't fitting anymore.
Mhm.
And Jill and I are so passionate about empowerment. And that's exactly what this is. Like, how do you listen to somebody that's very popular? And where is that power imbalance? And and I love it because I people are just catching wind and they're paying more attention to how they feel about themselves. And are they, where is that line of power and
Mhm.
equality? And so this fits right in. And I'm not like, I don't care about names either. What I care about is people really being more who they are.
Yeah. I think that one angle I'd actually like to start with is for those that have been, let's just say, entranced with some spiritual teacher and you really have put them on a pedestal, and you have then learned that there's something not quite as white light about them, or they lied about something in their origin story. There's some sort of deception, or something more serious. The cognitive dissonance that the brain and the mind body spirit can do of denialism, or wanting to protect that person, because what you're really protecting, if somebody criticizes them to you, for example, if you had a friend that said, hey, I just heard that that author that you love or whatever actually lied about this and this, and you don't still believe them, do you? There's this automatic defensiveness of, because what you're protecting is what they've done for you. So it's very natural that you would want to defend them and their instance, or deny that there is some sort of crack in their system. So another way of doing that, I'll offer a couple, and then I'd love to, Janet, for you to share your ideas on this as well. I would love for you to be able to say to that person, and to be able to say to yourself, I've learned so much from this person, and they have given me so much in my life and in my journey. I am going to honor and respect that, while acknowledging they're not perfect. And that, I mean, we are, but I'm not going to lose what I gained from them just because of something that they supposedly or possibly did or said, or, how they lied about something else. That's very real. It's honest with yourself. It's honest with the potential reality of the situation. And it doesn't include cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance can be energetically exhausting. Okay. It's very draining on your energy field. So I hope that even just that one approach will be very helpful for you.
That's so important. I mean, what I received and who I've become and how I've been inspired, that is real by anybody. And to have that expectation that, you know, you look at people that are very skillful and then you go to their house and you're like, wow, that's a mess, right? Like, and maybe that works for them, right? Like to think that everybody is, I don't know, to hold people to the highest degree of whatever we think is true in that area, in every area of their lives. Like, come on, man. Humanity is messy here. You know, there's lots of us that have skill sets in lots of areas, but to think that everybody is perfect in every arena, that's so
Mhm.
unfair. And I know that for myself. I mean, that's the when I find myself judging myself, or judging another by that, I look, it's like, oh, wait, when's the last time I just messed up? Right? I made a mistake, and that can bring in a whole different level of compassion, forgiveness, and that starts, I mean, that's a reflection of how I am with myself. Do I hold myself to such a standard that it's not okay, that I can't ever, reach that standard or fulfill it? And I certainly don't expect others to do that when I'm in, a sound mind. So it really is a level of compassion and realism that is just, it's appropriate, and I mean, I am in the public here, but wow, I'm glad somebody's not scrutinizing my bank records and my social media accounts and, finding
Mm.
pictures of me from when I was 12 because, that's it's tough, depending on how popular you are. So, very valid point here.
The other part that I want to acknowledge is that in order to be a very popular figure, there is a lot of polish and shine that takes place. There are often very professional storytellers and marketers and public image people that are literally helping take the facts of your actual origin story and rewriting them, or narrating them in a way that will maximize their potential in the audience. I've literally come across people like that, and I felt the phoniness. Nobody ever told me to write my story in a false way, but I can easily see how it happens. Um, Let me just feel into that for a minute, because this is I want to be careful I want to be thoughtful how I say this. You guys, it works. We are so easily manipulated. And in the realm of wanting to feel connected to God, connected to Source, and empowered by Source in our lives, we are very vulnerable to deception and manipulation. For a lot of individuals in any sort of self help or spiritual community, they would think, and it is common, that, well, that wouldn't happen in this community. I see it every day, you guys. And it a part of me, it breaks my heart. And a part of me is like, well, duh. It's a very lucrative financially. There's a lot of money in self help. There's a lot of money in spirituality. There's even a lot of money in religion. So it's a bucket of money that attracts intentions that are less than pure. And I don't like it that as a consumer, any of us would have to be also skeptical when something just doesn't quite land right. But it's important to be aware, and it doesn't have to be skepticism. It can just be kind of like the tip I was giving earlier, just full awareness. I'm going to take what I can that benefits me from this person that's really putting themselves out there. But I don't need to believe that their origin story is what it is, right? I don't have to pretend that they're perfect in all ways, like Janet was saying. I don't have to pretend that their house is clean and that they take seriously what I take seriously in my life. They can be a total mess in things that you're really good at, but still be helpful to you and still have valuable things for you to offer.
Wow. I mean, you brought in the money factor.
Mm-hmm.
What people do for money. And the most spiritually fit people can fall into that trap. And wanting to appear better. I mean, where's the line about putting my best self forward and making myself look better than I am, right? Like, where's that line? And I even noticed, because those of you that have seen my social media accounts, I make clips of what Jill and I do. And when I go in those, it's such a fine line, because you pull out little pieces because you want the clips to be short. So, I really do want people to know what we're doing. We're offering some really good value and trying to empower people, like always. And so when I do these clips, what I eliminate and what I add, I can make it look like something that it's not when it was said in its original intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's manipulation. I just feel it on the inside, and it's tempting like that, but it looks better. Right. And so if you magnify that and put in other factors, like maybe somebody does want a house on the Caribbean, and they're looking to make a little extra money. Like, where's the integrity in that? Where's the integritous path in that? And where's there, well, if I just tweak this a little and it's not quite right exactly, where's that line? Is it okay? And this is what I think we're coming to in the fall of these people. It's like, really? That's not okay that you did that. Right? And if that comes up enough, those people are going to lose their credibility in their heart, which is the very thing that
Mm,
we're talking about.
I know.
And so I'm not saying this is an easy thing. And I'm not talking like I'm not in the millions with what I'm doing here. Trust me, folks. But
I sell real
I,
estate because I was not going to sell my soul. I wasn't going to sell my soul to spirituality and pretend that people couldn't clear their own energy fields and, feel connected to God themselves. I could not sell that lie. I will never sell that lie. So I will offer my gifts and services, but what it would take for me to have the income that I desire in my life, I was like, I don't want to be, invited to all the things. I don't want to be, have publishers calling me saying, can we please help you write your story? Your story is amazing. I don't trust that they would let me tell it in a way that's as unimpressive in a way as it is.
yeah. And this gets into sales tactics. The
Mm.
sales tactics that work Can I do them? Like integrity in marketing, and there's a lot of fine lines, and there's so many decisions that people have made. And maybe one, like it's kind of like the first one you make, then the next one gets easier, right? And then there's a level of acceptability that these practices may be okay. And when those build, eventually people are like, whoa, okay, that didn't feel right. That didn't feel right. That didn't feel right. And oh my goodness, look, there's something even deeper here that, is a little too dark for me. Like it crossed some sort of invisible line. And that I think is the wellness of our society. That's the wellness because we're not turning a blind eye anymore. So the falls of people that have been influential, not everybody's going to fall, right? And I think there does need to be adjustments in how we view these people, the expectations we have, the standards we hold them to, and the standards they hold themselves to. So we try to be transparent here. And if somebody wants to call me on something, it's like, what? Yeah,
Mhm.
let's bring it on, right? Like, and that's sort of my value system, but that's not true with everybody.
I wish it was true for everybody though, because then we wouldn't even be having this conversation because they would have never presented themselves as above the human frailties that we're all a part of in this reality. Um, yeah, the other tip I just want to give people, in addition to the ones we've already given, which I hope are very valuable, I don't I don't think it's wise to pretend that this problem of inauthenticity in spiritual gifted individuals or spiritual teachers or spiritual leaders is going to go away. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think it's true that that will go away. If anything, given how influenced people can be when they want something bad enough, and I hate to say this, but how easy it is to manipulate people, how easy it is to lie to individuals, how easy it is for a human to lie to themselves. I don't think this is going away.
And why is that?
Mm, It's okay. So, why is that? I feel like you almost asked rhetorically. So, I'm going to wait and answer what I think why, because I think part of my whys were actually in what I said, but I want to hear your why.
Yeah.
Or do you agree, Janet? Do you agree that this problem is going to persist and possibly get worse? Or do you believe that the fall of spiritual leaders is just a temporary thing and we won't have this in our lifetimes going forward?
Wow. So that's a multi-layered question there, multi-part. Um, where we have to evolve to for it to go away is pretty far down the path,
Yeah.
right? And there's groups of people where I don't think anybody's gonna fall because people have maintained enough of their integrity, and then when they find they're not in their integrity as a spiritual leader, they kinda come clean. That's my version that I really appreciate, right? Like, that's the thing. And what was the 3rd part of it? Because this was important.
Um, there was the do you believe that it will go away? And then the why won't it go away? Because I think you're saying you agree with me that it's not going away. Why isn't it going away?
This is the juice here, right? If I am not with myself enough, if I am seeking anything outside of myself, if if I haven't done a lot enough of my healing work, I'll say, I am super susceptible. And we did a whole podcast on susceptibility. So if you want to dig more into that, how you're susceptible, please. There's a lot of valuable information and energetics in that podcast. So it has to do with wellness and power, our relationship to power. Our relationship, do we think that we can get what we need without another person? And this has been a really hot dynamic for me recently about how I still look for things outside of myself to fulfill needs that get filled by God, by the all that is. People do fill those needs, but not in that dependency role, in an interdependency role. Inter interdependency, right? So, yeah, that's it. If the dynamic is still within the people that are seeking people to be leaders that look good, right? Their discernment mechanisms of the person looking is not good enough. They're repeating old patterns. As long as that need, however founded or however clear it is still there, people are going to take advantage of it. Period. Period. It's supply and demand. It's simple.
Yeah. It's such a disappointment, right? It just is, and I just wanna acknowledge that. I remember when the John of God scandal broke, that was a while back. That was probably 2018, I think. I mean, I have community members and friends, in my membership community and like I said, close friends that literally went to Brazil and felt healed by him. They have personal stories of meeting with him. And there was, for some of them, there was a lot of confusion of, I don't know what, it was almost like, I don't know what to think. Because the John of God that I interacted with was so angelic and literally such a testimony of the Holy Spirit. I don't know what to think that there's this whole other dark side to him. How could, and it was almost like they were in an unspoken way getting to the part of how can that go together? Okay, now I might be a little bit unusual here. I'm fascinated by the reality, by the truth that they do go together. I'm fascinated by the notion that the Holy Spirit, that God, that source energy, that the universe in its benevolence can
Mm,
also operate alongside the most intense, shadowy energy
mm,
in the same system.
mm,
I don't like it that they go together. I don't believe they have to go together. I don't
mm,
believe you have to have dark to have light. That is not my truth. That's not my experience, and it's definitely not my belief system. But the fact that they can even operate together in narcissism, in abusers, the fact that somebody on death row that deserves to be on death row is the most loving, caring, devoted father or mother is just wild to me.
mm,
And that contrast that it can coexist because of the source energy we also are. I'm not afraid of that. It fits together. And I think that allows me to not be shocked when I come across something. It allows me to not throw the baby out with the bathwater when I recognize the source energy in someone, but I also either acknowledge or I just sense that their lack of light aspects can be very angry and very hurtful to themselves or others.
mm. So, this is really good. Whoever went to see John of God, they created that experience for themselves.
Mm.
I'm going to say that again. This is so important. Whoever you are, you created that. This is what we do every day of our lives.
Mm.
It's that take what we want and leave the rest kind of thing. And whatever level of source energy is being emanated, I take that and I get to have this incredible experience with it.
Mm.
And that is kind of a developed skill, I want to say. And it has to do with focus. If I'm sitting there focusing on negative stuff all the time, I'm gonna that's what I have as kind of the sort of negative experience. If I'm able to see the light and filter that light out and receive that, then I have a completely different experience. And that's powerful. So And I'm encouraging people not to go through what's wrong with me, in that experience. Yes, look at your discernment mechanisms and see if you felt something else or if other things were not in congruency. Like you were like, huh. And it's the aura of the leader that they do no wrong. That's like a pattern in our society that they become more godlike. So we're less likely to have a realistic view of those people. So let's just be aware of that and just like, oh, right. Like let's just throw that out the window right away. It's like let's have a realistic, and if I feel uncomfortable with something, me, now, that doesn't mean I can't receive this, but let me not pretend that I don't feel that and use that in a good way. Because if I don't do that, that's how people ended up in the back room with John and God or however all that happened, right?
Mhm.
Because we don't pay attention to that information that's here for us because of these other ideas about what leaders and stuff are,
Right.
you know?
Thank you for adding what you just um, brought up, because there is a. I just want to play with this, and I don't have it all kind of laid out in my system yet, so it might be a little clunky if it as it first comes out. I would imagine that somebody just happening to walk by John of God in his height of his popularity, if they just casually walked by him, had no idea who or what he was, lived in a neighboring community, and John of God said, "It looks like you've got some pain. Are you okay if I offer healing?" It's possible that their benefit from him would have been minimal, may not even have been anything.
Mm,
But when you plant the seed, when you offer the story of who and what John of God is, and you have to go to Brazil and all of these things, right? All of this hero's journey, right? This healing journey of the efforts that you go to visit someone like that, to be there, to I think they have to wear white and they have to wait. And there's a whole protocol of, from what I understand from my friends that have gone meeting with him and all these things, that he would do the same thing for you that he offered to somebody else. I might differ a little bit with Janet in that I actually feel like John of God did play a role in that. And I do believe that he has some true abilities of healing and alchemy. And so the recipient is also part of that system, right? So the power of belief, it's what makes the placebo effect as effective, sometimes more effective than clinical trials in the pharmaceutical industry and even in the wellness industry. So when someone tells you, "Oh my God, you have to go see my massage therapist. They are amazing." You're going to have a different experience with that person because you want them to be amazing. You may even need them to be amazing. So you do play a role in this. And that's one of the reasons why Janet or we literally, any practitioner could go and pay some really good money to have the story of them built up in this incredible way. And we could create systems of, well, they only do 10 sessions a month. So we could, promote scarcity, the idea of scarcity. And you had to wait 18 months to get in. They're so booked up. Do you know how much I had to pay? Do you know how hard it is? Oprah sees them. I mean, we could do all the things, right? We could say we went to Harvard. We could, pay for some certificate and then there's so many ways to fake this shit, you guys. You have no idea how easy it is. We could tell a different version, a very dramatic version of our story. I could tell a very incredible story, which is fact based about accidents that I've had in my life. Well, that, God keeps making it so I'm here. I'm here to tell the world of the light of God within them. And I've survived crazy accidents to prove my truth, to prove this is true. I could just do ridiculous things.
yeah.
I don't want to do that. Because if that's what's required for someone to hear me and someone to receive my giftedness, I don't want it based on that.
Yeah. I hope people don't become too disillusioned with, with practitioners in general through this conversation because there are real people here who work with heart, and I include Jill in that, and I include me
John
in
of
that.
God is real.
And I do believe that John of God, I don't think that he would have been as successful as he has been without 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 his ability to allow source to work through him as him to the degree that he has, right? So I think all that's true. And so the whole encouragement is um, realism. Watch what I project on spiritual leaders. Look what I'm invested in them being because I need them to be that versus seeing who they really are for themselves. That creates a whole nother system of then people feel they have to perpetuate that. It's like, oh no, they think I'm this, so this is the persona. And that's a whole nother thing. Like we do not want to do that. And and also I've been in situations where I've been very disappointed in people. And I don't want to dismiss that, and I tend to see people more in their light because I see their light. And sometimes that allows a level of disappointment. And I don't take that out on people, but it doesn't mean I don't feel it. Because my invitation to anybody is always like, in myself, can we do better? In this, I feel emotional about it because that's really what it's about. And I look at my evolution and the people that I've served and worked with, you know, I'm way better, And does that mean that those people got like cheated? No, that's just where I was in my evolutionary path,
Good girl, good.
And I served them with as much heart as I could back then too,
Hmm.
So yeah, go ahead. You have something on your lips.
What's your advice to someone that has experienced what you've experienced, where you believed in someone, you saw their giftedness, you personally experienced their source energy, and then you also saw a version of, I know a little bit about the story, so it sounds like you personally then came across the phoniness involved, and it was very jarring to you.
Mhm.
Am I stating that correctly?
Close enough. Yeah.
Okay. What would be your advice? Because that's kind of what we're describing to people
Yeah.
is this, oh, oh, okay, there's some lies in here. There's some literal misrepresentation, knowing
Yeah.
misrepresentation.
Yes.
Did you
Looking at
have to step away from all of it, or were you able to?
um, well, it hasn't happened with just one person, and that means that
Oh,
that's
okay.
me, right? That's me then.
Oh, I don't.
That's what I'm
I
doing
want
with
to. I
this.
want to disagree with you, but I'll do that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
think we see that differently, but that's okay.
yeah, maybe we do. Let me wait, there's more here. Let's just pause for a minute here. Okay, so disappointment, how we deal with that, um, especially when it's tricky because when I become more of who I am and am awakened and get more of the communion and internal union with God, right? That's sacred. And when I have that experience with somebody and they facilitate that, um, it makes it harder when I see stuff that they're doing or being misrepresenting themselves. That makes it harder. And one of the reasons it makes it harder is because, especially if a friendship develops with it, It just makes it harder because it was a form of support, and it's a way that I got to experience this level of godliness in the presence of somebody else, because there's real stuff there. There still is. It's just that, there was a splitting because of various reasons, and part of it I could name a gazillion reasons. So how do you deal with that? Well, to me, it's always about honoring my experience and allowing that source love to hold me.
Hmm.
And that sounds like it's outside of me. It is, and it's also inside of me, right? And there's inventory processes. I mean, this stuff about that I'm talking about of wanting somebody to be this way in a more perfected role. How do I know about this stuff?
Hmm.
Because I've done it. I've done it. And there's a level of intrinsic faith in this that kind of calms my inward angst when I know that my needs are always met. They're always met. And there's this idea that only this person can meet that need. That's not true.
Hmm.
That's never been true. Now, definitely the flavor and the interactions I have with certain people is different than other people. Okay. But I always get that level of human connection and heart-centeredness and ability to be held by people and, evolve, I'll say.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that can do that for me and
Yeah.
with me. So that's probably the biggest one, is to, like, disconnect that, right? And if it does happen with more than one person, then, I had a lot of deep inner healing to do, and it does go back, in this case for me, it went back to parents and, not getting my developmental needs met at certain stages. So I didn't evolve out of that needing something outside of myself. That's where mine went in this case. And it went back farther than that, like way back to the beginning of what I know time to be. Like
Mm.
it covered a lot of dimensional aspects too, because people a lot of times will have connections with them that we're not conscious of, and this is in different dimensions and different realities. And so that's why it kind of feels like a harder fall. And sometimes we're even trying to complete processes that happened in a different existence with this person, and you can't complete it in that way, in the way that it's not that simple, right? So I meet this person and it comes up, and then I get to do my completion work, which may have nothing to do with them, right? It's just like, oh, this is still hanging out there. Let me finish that within me. So, self compassion and self love, and finding places where I can be supported. This is, we talked about this, like the different circles of people we have. If you don't have
Mhm.
people in your inner circle that you can talk about anything with, begin to develop those relationships, because those are real and those are trustworthy.
And ideally, it's somebody that you don't have to pay or volunteer for, to have that experience with them. Let me just hit do not disturb on that. Um, Thank you for that, Janet. And when you initially said, and I'm simplifying it, but if I was, and I want to say manipulated or lied to twice, that means it's me. I was interpreting it as the whole idea of, if you're like,
Mm,
if you've been cheated twice, that means you're a cheater. But that isn't what you said. And
no.
thank you for the last part, because it's more, if you've been lied to twice, that means you have the ability to be lied to. You have the ability to be deceived and manipulated. And that's a different, you're not kind of as bad as somebody who'd lie, but you're more
That's
susceptible to it. And why is that?
right. Mhm.
Why is that, right? And then you attribute it to the nurture and nature part of it. You also, not directly, but tied in the other lifetimes. I don't believe that lifetimes are past. I believe that they're all happening at the same time from the widest range of source energy, which means, in my truth, that you can't have another lifetime next to fix relationship issues that you're having now. It was never dependent on that other person or that other soul. It's always the huge opportunity you have within yourself.
Yes.
That's the gift, and you touched on that beautifully, but I just wanted to make it a little bit more explicit,
Yes.
um, because that's a to me to be this is a very out there, very maybe strange concept to a lot of people. To me, that notion is actually used to manipulate us in the afterlife to get us to reincarnate. Well, I see you still had conflict with this person and this person, so let's get you back in there. Let's get you in another incarnation and make sure they sign up too so that you can resolve that. No, 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 no. Say no, because it's not next anyway, but they think it is. Those energies in the afterlife are
Yeah.
some of them are just as misinformed as here. And it's really, really sad.
Yeah. Mm. So what, Jill, for you, would you offer to people in that level of disappointment?
Ugh. I mean, first I would just say compassion. I know some of us can get so in our brain and want to like defend it. Well, how could I have known? And how could they lie? And just really get spun up in their thoughts. But I feel like the first thing we deserve when we're disappointed is compassion from ourselves. If you don't allow it to be yourself that's giving you that compassion and that grace, and telling yourself, I didn't deserve to be lied to, I didn't deserve to be manipulated, then you're going to go looking for it elsewhere. And you may even go on some, chapters upon chapters the rest of your life trying to hold that person accountable. It
Mm.
may never work. Trying to expose them, that's a very unsatisfying experience. And may never, there will be people that will always fall for their giftedness as that's the only thing they are. So there's just a lot of different tangents you can find yourself on. So I would start with compassion for yourself. I would encourage the words, I didn't deserve to be lied to. I'm very disappointed. I love myself and I will allow myself love for the other person and be grateful for what they offered me. And I will no longer pretend that they are perfect because I now clearly see that they are not.
Mm.
So I feel like that kind of, I feel it even in all levels of my energy systems at all chakras. It's just like it's a comforting release, and it's a fresh start that I feel like we all deserve. And then hopefully there is a bit of a retrospective. We used to call it in corporate a post-mortem, post-trauma, post-disappointment experience of, okay, now what can I learn? What can I learn from this overall so I don't let this happen again? Because we have talked about this in another episode. Some people are very susceptible to scams. They consistently give people the benefit of the doubt that do not deserve it, have not earned it, right? So some people are more susceptible to that. That would be something to be curious about too. Why do I believe people that have been in need? Why do I believe people because they have trauma similar to mine? Why do I automatically give them trust and faith and benefit of the doubt just because we have this something in common, or I love this part about them? It's an oversimplification system that the brain wants to take a vacation from analytical reasoning and critical thinking and thinking mean things about another person.
Mhm. So that leads beautifully into a point I wanted to bring up. Just because people are falling from the limelight, they don't need to be vilified. They don't like, where is my authenticity and my compassion as a human being here and my like, feel my feels and do, get all that, like, don't pretend like that's not there if that's what I'm feeling, right? Like, do all that, and then, like, what am I gonna say about it? Am I gonna gossip about people and say, "Can you believe that was awful?" Do I really wanna kick somebody when they're down kinda thing? Do I need to add fuel to that fire? Bringing awareness to certain situations is different. That's different. But looking at how I carry judgment forward for people, like I'm not doing that. Like I'm over that kicking the down guy. And when I do my own personal work, then I can really carry that through because that's for me, that's what I've decided is really walking the walk here on this planet, with fellow humans. And on a broader scale, it's kind of exciting when I think about it because, wow, this has happened in so many areas of our society and our life, how we've made people these unrealistic guru leaders. And this is a sign, like how the spiritual community thought we would not be affected and not have to do some sort of fall thing. Like that's completely unrealistic because we're participating in a society, right? Like until we all like move beyond that, we're not moved beyond that, right? So in general, I just want to present that perspective that on an overall perspective, it's a good thing because it means that people are more discerning, they're more empowered, they're clear about what's fitting for them and what's not fitting for them. And they're unwilling to sacrifice that to the degree through their awareness, through their own presence. And that is like super good news here.
It's a big upgrade too. It's a huge upgrade. And I highly recommend it because it will actually allow you to get more source energy reflected back to you when you are not pretending that that only comes from people that are perfect. It also allows you to be more of your centered source energy because you probably know better than anyone else how imperfect you are. So
Yeah.
it never required perfection, you guys.
Yeah.
This is good news. This makes things easier. It's it's a travesty that the Christian religion, the traditional Christian religion, made Jesus into something that was non human.
Mm.
It took out so much of what he was here to show us and be with us and demonstrate as us. That it breaks my heart and pisses me off at the same time.
Yeah. We are
Talk
the
about a
Christ.
story. Talk about good PR.
Yeah,
Wow.
really. I mean, we are the Christed ones.
The Christ consciousness it's a part of this literally seed and root and system of life.
Yeah. It's a great example.
It's one of the best. It's one of the best, right?
Pretty well known.
Pretty well known. And every belief system of a religious connotation has one. They
Yeah.
have their version of this. Well, but they were above, they were transcended human. Well, where's the transcendence in your human? That's what I'm more excited about.
Yeah.
I literally have in all of my content this whole line about I am so excited about what you felt in yourself
Yeah.
as source energy from this experience. If you happen to see mine, that's great. But I don't want it to be about me. I want
Yeah.
it to be about the light in all of us.
Yeah. Me too. Mm. Wow.
Hmm.
Like that's a great note to end on.
I do too. Thank you, everybody, for letting us go here. This was Janet, I'm so glad we did this. I feel like it was more cohesive. And were able to stay kind of on task in a way because both of us have so much we can share and so much that we all are that I don't feel like ramblings are totally purposeless. But I like that there was less rambling. I like this. We can do this.
And I like how it pulled in because we've been talking about this very thing throughout so many of our different podcasts. And so this just kind of brought it together in a different way where you can kind of revisit those old ones if you want to go down this path a little
Hmm.
bit more or this one. But I like how it kind of sort of builds a more solid container for people to step into their container, their own empowered container, right? And that created by them and for them, right? And
Hmm.
so, yeah. And then they can interact with people that are popular and may have really good ideas and learn what applies and what doesn't, and to be uncomfortable with stuff that you feel uncomfortable about and still get incredible gifts and be inspired and enlightened and upgraded, hopefully. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing this with others. You can make your own shorts from these. I don't know, for some of you that are a bit more tech savvy, you can make your own video shorts with YouTube Shorts and some other tools if there was a favorite part that you liked. And it's going to save Janet and I a lot of time because we're obviously more focused on the content side. The repurposing and remarketing and all that stuff is definitely not my forte. And I don't know if I could get good at that. I'd get burned out real quick. But anyway, just thank you to all of you that are here. And I hope this was useful. I hope this helped with some alchemy in yourself or in someone that you know, and they receive something important from this to let themselves feel whole and complete by allowing others to also be whole and complete.
Mhm. Thank you, Jill. And really, if you do have relevant topics, please share them because we wanna stay current, we wanna have the most impact and provide the
Mm.
most value. So if you have those and we haven't visited one, please bring it forward because that's what we want. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Janet.
Bye. Thanks, Jill.